for the Gameless Holiday Giving Extravaganza. Donate a game to get you and a friend all-day access to the latest and greatest video game releases. Huh. Contributing to charity and demoing games for free. That's a great idea. I should tell all my friends about this. Well, time to fulfill a time-honored tradition. Hey, Corey, how's it going? Hey, Corey, how's it going?
What the fuck? How many times do I have to tell you not to break
listen. Hang on. Are you free tonight?
I'm always free in America, friendo.
Okay, cool. Because Games for the Gameless is doing this thing where if you donate a game, you can get a whole day of free access to a bunch of other games. You wanna come?
Yeah, that actually sounds interesting. I was thinking about getting my hands on FIFA 23, try it out, but I wasn't a big fan of FIFA 22 or FIFA 21 or FIFA 20. FIFA 19 was okay. I didn't really like FIFA 18 either, though. Anyways, yeah, no, this sounds like a good opportunity to try it.
Yeah.
Hey, did someone say there's something going on at Game for the Gameless where you can donate a game and get a whole day of free access to a bunch of other games?
Yeah.
God, I'm good.
How are both of you in my house right now? I locked the door. I locked the door, right? Yeah, you locked the door.
That's really cute. You think that can stop me?
Yeah, once you get good enough at breaking it in, it doesn't even do anything.
Well, can you guys stop committing felonies in my house? Really driving the property value down.
Exactly. I'm gonna buy your house.
Hey, did someone say committing felonies? I'm in.
God, now there's 3 of you?
Alright, hey, we're all here, so hey, pregame at my place, it's close by.
Yeah, alright,
Yeah, sure, love gaming.
Better be something good this time. I don't want to be playing no Toot Oak. And it also better be real, alright? Something that exists this time.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll something good.
Can it be a little later though? I have a seminar this afternoon.
What seminar?
Breaking and entering.
Something good. Man, what do? I don't have something good. There's nothing in my library that interests me. Am I just gonna have to pick some random garbage off the shelf? Oh man, this is perfect! The guys are gonna love this! You know, this is turning out to be a pretty great day. I get to spend the holidays with my friends, get to play my favorite game of all time, and then try a bunch of new games on top of it. Playing Pokemon Platinum always gets me in such a whimsical, theatrical mood, and now's my chance to finally finish the big adventure! So you know what that means? My life is about to lose a lot of meaning. Well, it's the 10th time now that I have said hello to you. But mark my words, today we'll see this journey through. I'm making haste to get a taste of all the things I've left to do. Why, it's a game for the ages, but a serious test of patience. So, hang on to your hats, it's time to have a ball. We've gotta catch 'em all, you see. For this rose-tinted romp is now like $90 at GameStop, but forever it remains to me a priceless sight to see. Cause I made my way through grassy fields and Zubat caves in my attempt to find the best of life in mild glory days. I'll safely say this game I play makes quite the case to navel gaze, but my true happiness awaits just a nostalgia trip away. Whoa! Can't you feel the excitement? But all good things must come to an end eventually. Like bread. It's been a joy to bring the system to employ. In the face of my collection, I continue to avoid, while emulating olden days with bygone anecdotes deployed. Those days were fun and wacky, and the last time I was happy. But now the time is coming, we've got a game to beat. So strap into your seats and see that one playthrough is finite in space and in time, but forever it remains to me a precious memory. Cause I made my way from my first gym to the Hall of Fame in my attempt to find the best of life in times before today. Yes, I can say this game I play makes quite a case to navel gaze, but I assure you that the end's just a nostalgia trip away. Now I'm sailing away through rain or shine and night or day to newer chapters, greener pastures, and a big backlog of games. I'm mashing A to future days, no time to waste, I can't delay because they're just a nostalgia trip away. Memories. I first started recording this current playthrough on my 18th birthday in the spring of 2020. Yeah, that's a fitting way to enter adulthood, being sad and alone. Yes, rather than living it up in my final days of high school and making the most of my rapidly vanishing youth, I was busy hiding from the apocalypse. Some of you might remember that there was a global pandemic caused by a novel coronavirus that got pretty bad right around this time, and right before it hit I was sort of in the headspace of, man, I'm getting old, I want to make the most of this unique time in my life before I move on to a new phase in my life where I can experience a lot of this stuff again. And the forces of the universe just so perfectly aligned to tell me to go fuck myself. I'll preface this by saying that yes, I'm well aware that it is certainly a massive privilege to be like, the pandemic was awful, I didn't get to go to prom. But it still was a really frustrating time for me, in part because of the stuff I was missing out on. I feel like most of the time you'd expect the story to go something like, man, I miss the good old days of my youth, I really regret not making the most of my time back then. But for me, I knew that they were the good old days, and I really was making a conscious effort to try and make the most of this unique time in my life. But then as the pandemic hit, I literally wasn't able to do any of it anymore. So instead of me choosing not to make the most of my time and later regretting it, I didn't make the most of my time because I was forcibly prevented from doing so. And it just results in me being left with this bitter feeling of, what could have been. Now, I'm not saying that the pandemic is the full cause of that feeling. I probably would have felt something similar even if life had been normal, and quite frankly, I was kind of feeling that way even before the pandemic happened, but I still think it was a significant factor because it meant that the end of my childhood happened sooner and more unexpectedly. You can never be truly prepared to enter adulthood, but at the very least, you usually know when it's coming. When I went home from school on that fateful day in March, I had no idea that those were my final hours in that phase of my life. It was a completely abrupt transition into a scary new world, and it's immensely frustrating that it happened. But with that said, even before all of this happened, when the world was running somewhat normally, I still kind of had this creeping feeling of, man, this is it, huh? That's what compelled me to really try my hardest to make the most of my time in those final days. My adolescence is ending. Did I really make the most of it? Could I have done things differently? Is it really coming to an end so soon? But however much I might have wanted in retrospect to go back and do things differently, however much I wished I had done more with my life leading up to that point, it didn't matter. The future was coming, and there was nothing I could do about it. Point is, growing up is scary. It's a lot to have to adapt to a new way of life with new responsibilities and challenges. Having to leave the comfort of childhood behind and move forward with the passage of time is a fateful, irreversible transition, and it can be kind of scary and even sad to think about. Like, wow, this is life, huh? It can make you wish that you could just go back and relive the good old days. And this is where nostalgia comes in. It's a well-documented phenomenon to reminisce on your youth and envision it as this paradise of joy and freedom. Those were the days. You were innocent and carefree and got to earnestly experience some of the greatest joys of your life. It can be fun and somewhat comforting to remember those past days because they just seem so great compared to how depressing and unfulfilling life is now. Of course, if you got to talk to your younger self and tell them that those are the greatest days of their life, they'd probably say, "The fuck are you talking about? I have a bedtime." But I'll admit I can definitely be a sucker for nostalgia, particularly through the medium of video games. They just make sense as nostalgia bait. Not only can they be fun, memorable experiences in their own right, they're also much more personalized to you, the player. Most everyone who plays video games remembers their first. Whether the game was actually good or not is subjective, but there are no doubt always going to be some positive emotions attached to your first game because, well, it was your first. You played it as a kid back when you were happy, and that game, if you continued on playing games after that, undeniably had an impact on the course of your life and your personality. So what was the point of me saying all this? Well, the fuck do you think I've been doing for the past 2 years? While Pokemon Platinum wasn't my literal first video game I ever played, it was the first true gaming adventure that I embarked on, and it was the one that really ignited my passion for gaming as a whole. I no longer have the original cartridge that I played the game on due to me being an idiot and losing it, but I still have a lot of memories attached to the game, so even when starting a fresh save file, for me, it's the quintessential nostalgic experience. And that's why, over 2 years ago, staring into the cold abyss of adulthood, I decided to have one more hurrah with a cornerstone of my childhood. Now, in deciding to play through Platinum again, it wasn't literally a conscious thought process of, well, I'm an adult now, I should relive childhood because that makes for a neat narrative. I wanted to replay it because I like it. But it just makes sense, doesn't it? That I'd seek comfort in something from the past while being forced to come to terms with the future. That in the midst of the fear and sadness that comes with growing up, the thing that I thought would bring me the most joy was something heavily tied to nostalgia. So while my choice to experience something from the past wasn't literally because of its contrast with the future, there's no denying that there's some sort of connection there. The future is scary and nostalgia is comforting, so of course I would play Platinum in that situation. And now, 2 years later, that journey is finally coming to an end. And I've gotten older and have only experienced more growing up in that time. The future now is just as scary as it was back then, and this whole nostalgia thing feels all the more relevant. But alas, the show must go on. This game has to end at some point. It's simply not possible to indulge in nostalgia forever. So today, we are taking on the Pokemon League and finally bringing this adventure to a close.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I got T-bone on the way over here.
So you gotta plan ahead, I guess.
Sorry, I'm late. I T-boned some guy on the way over here.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I saw some guy get T-boned on the way over here.
Well, do I have a great game for all of us to play?
Hey, you winning?
We last left off right at the entrance of the Pokemon League with nothing left to do but take on the Elite Four and Champion and beat the game. So, in preparation for this final challenge, I do what any professional would do before they have to test their skills in a major competition. Drugs. It's something of a tradition for me in Pokemon games to hoard all my rare candies and vitamins that I get throughout the game and dump them all onto my party right before the Elite Four. Is it the most logical thing to do? Maybe not, but I tend to abide by the philosophy of, well, what if I need it later when it comes to items that there is a finite amount of, and the Elite Four is really the only time where that later actually comes and I can justify using the items to myself. I generally try to use them to complement my Pokemon's best stats, though with the HP up I use it to give a boost to party members that were lacking in HP, save for Weezer because his HP stat is beyond saving. Weirdly, I only had one PP up remaining, which I ultimately decided to use on Falco's close combat. The rare candies are nice for some last minute leveling up without having to grind, though Falco and Flowey were so close to the next level that I quick battled a few wild Pokemon in Victory Road. I generally try to make all members of my party the same level with any extras going to my starter, which is what I did here. Falco learned Brave Bird at level 49, which I replaced Aerial Ace with, and my team ultimately wound up all at level 50 except for Pingu, who was at level 53. Here I also truly reap the rewards of my constant use of the Amulet coin because I now have copious amounts of money to buy copious amounts of medicine. And with that, I'm finally well stocked and ready to take on the Elite Four. Oh, what are you doing here? Yes, right before we can take on the Pokemon League, we have to battle with our rival one final time. I enjoy this battle on a thematic level. It goes back to a point that I've talked about quite a few times, the general feeling of progress and accomplishment that comes with how much your party has grown and changed and how much your rival's party has grown and changed since your first battle all that time ago. It's also a legitimately challenging fight, nothing too crazy, but he has a well-balanced team that actually countered a lot of my type advantages pretty well. But in due time I defeat my rival and at long last we can face the Elite Four. Before going in though, I decided to give my Pokemon some held items for that extra bit of firepower. Held items aren't that useful in game, so I generally just kind of forget about them and don't use them, but when you're at the very end of the game, hey, why not give your team that little extra boost? I gave Flowey the Big Root, which raises the power of HP stealing attacks like Giga Drain, Weezer gets the King's Rock, which gives you a chance of making the opponent flinch, Meta Knight gets the Razor Claw, which increases the chances of landing a critical hit, Pingu gets the Quick Claw, which gives you a chance to bypass speed calculations and attack first, Gibby gets the Soft Sand, which increases the power of ground-type moves, and Falco gets the Amulet coin because I have nothing else to give him, so why not make some extra money? And with my team all ready to go, the person at the entrance counts off my badges and we begin the final challenge of the game. The first Elite Four up is Aaron, a Bug-type user. A Bug-type Elite Four is definitely an interesting choice since I feel like Bug-type Pokemon more than any other type tend to have the stigma of being weak and kinda pathetic. But then watch as a Vespiquen tanks a fly with 1 HP and wrecks Falco with Power Gem, who's weak and pathetic now. Nevertheless, the battle with Aaron overall wasn't brutally hard, but still a decent enough challenge to make it enjoyable. Why does he have a Drapion? That's not even a bug type! Next up is Bertha, a ground type user. She was definitely the easiest one of the bunch, having a Whiscash that's 4 times weak to Giga Drain, a Golem that's 4 times weak to Giga Drain, a Rhyperior that's 4 times weak to Giga Drain, and a Gliscor that's 4 times weak to Ice Punch. The Hippowdon took one hit at least. See, this is the sort of double-edged sword to having gym leaders and Elite Four specialize in a single type. It's fun thematically, but it does kind of undermine the excitement of the moment if you have a type advantage that makes them piss easy. The third Elite Four is our old friend Flint, at long last, an actual character that we've met before. He uses fire types, but Pingu actually didn't see much action because right off the bat his Houndoom used Sunny Day, which weakens water type moves. I ended up taking out the Houndoom with Pingu, the Infernape with Falco, and then swept the rest with Gibby. The fourth and final Elite Four is Lucian, a psychic type user who reads gross. One thing that's really noticeable about these Elite Four is how quickly their Pokemon level up between battles. Like, you go from battling a level 49 Yanmega to a level 59 Gallade, and it's like, you are vastly overestimating the amount of EXP I'm getting from these battles. I imagine it was more just a way to make the Elite Four be progressively harder as you advance through them, but still, these are some pretty big level gaps. And honestly, the level increases don't even do much for the overall challenge. Weirdly enough, Aaron was probably the most difficult for me to beat of the four. I definitely got kinda lucky in this battle with Lucian, with his Alakazam missing a Focus Blast, Weezer getting a flinch on the Bronzong thanks to the King's Rock, and Weezer managing to land a Night Slash through confusion, but still overall the fight just wasn't anything too crazy. So with all the Elite Four defeated, there remains only one final challenge. the champion. This is an absolutely iconic moment in the series. Just that piano is enough to inspire fear in anyone who's played through the Sinnoh games. We enter the champion's room and find who else but the person we've crossed paths with so many times throughout our adventure, Cynthia. This fight with Cynthia is absolutely notorious among Pokemon fans, and for good reason. Her team is absolutely nuts, being incredibly well balanced and just incredibly strong overall. Cynthia is a truly challenging opponent on a level rarely seen in this game or in a lot of Pokemon games in general. First up is her Spiritomb. Spiritomb is a unique Pokemon because its type combination gives it literally no weaknesses aside from the Fairy type, which didn't exist until X and Y released years after Platinum. That, combined with Spiritomb just being a fairly bulky Pokemon in general, led to me deciding to use Flowey to stall it out with Toxic. Toxic is a really helpful move for taking down bulky Pokemon like Spiritomb because not only is it a damage-dealing status effect, it's a damage-dealing status effect that increases in damage every turn, which makes it way easier to just stall your opponent out if you don't have super strong attacks. The Spiritomb did no Psychic, which is super effective against Flowey, but Flowey was able to survive it, including tanking one with literally 1 HP, and through the combination of Toxic, Giga Drain, and spamming potions, I was eventually able to take it down. Next up is her Togekiss. In keeping with my use every Pokemon in important battles rule, I switched over to Weezer, though he was probably the best party member to go with regardless. I got incredibly lucky by getting a freeze off of an Ice Punch, which led to me being able to take the Togekiss down completely unscathed. Next is her Lucario. I sent in Falco to take it down with a super effective close combat. I got one-shot by an Aura Sphere, so I sent Flowey back in to weaken it with a Stun Spore and then revive Falco and spam Giga Drain until Flowey fainted, whereupon I could send Falco back in. And since the paralysis effect slowed the Lucario down, I was able to land a close combat and take it out. Oh, come on! Okay, so the Lucario survives with like 1 HP, takes out Falco again, and forces me to send in Weezer as a sacrifice to revive Falco and Flowey. Of course, because the Lucario is low on health, Cynthia uses a full restore, which makes sense except for the fact that she didn't use one on her Togekiss when it was in the same situation. I had always assumed that enemy trainers just automatically used healing items when their Pokemon was low no matter what. I'd be curious to see what prompted the AI to heal in the one case, but not the other. But regardless, this sets me back to square one, forcing me to send in Flowey again, paralyze the Lucario again, let Flowey get knocked out again, send in Falco again, almost take it out with a close combat again, watch Falco get taken out by an Aura Sphere again, and then just give up and send in Gibby to revive Falco and finish the job himself. Next up is her stupid piece of shit Garchomp. This damn thing is by far the most notorious Pokemon on her team because of its utterly unrivaled ability to fuck your shit up something fierce. First I send in Falco to lower its attack with the Intimidate ability, and then hopefully that might give Pingu a chance to survive an Earthquake. Oh, cool! Is that another crit? That's fantastic! That's exactly what I needed right now! So next I send in Flowey as a sacrifice to heal Falco back up, and then send Falco back in to lower the Garchomp's attack again, use Double Team to make it possible to dodge its attacks, and then proceed to use the tried and true pro gamer strategy of spam potions until it misses something. This goes on for a while until finally it misses a Dragon Rush, at which point I use Double Team some more and then proceed to slowly take it out with Fly. I also revive Pingu along the way, and I realized that I literally spammed so many potions that the Garchomp ran out of PP for all of its damaging moves and was eventually forced to keep using Earthquake, which Falco is immune to. I will admit it doesn't feel that satisfying to finally defeat the Garchomp when I did it entirely through the power of luck and just having enough money to buy an assload of healing items, but you know, at least it's over. Next is her Milotic, and I send in Mennonite for his turn in the spotlight and try to take it out with Thunder Punch. Unfortunately, the Milotic is faster and its Surf takes out half of Mennonite's health. Thus, knowing Mennonite was going to get taken out either way, I decided to sacrifice him to revive Flowey so that he can use Stun Spore to lower the Milotic's speed. It knows Ice Beam. I should have seen that coming. So instead, I send Pingu back in to tank hits and revive both Flowey and Mennonite, and then send Flowey back in hopes that he can maybe survive an Ice Beam when he's at full health. Oh, is that another crit? That's so cool! Are you proud of yourself? Okay, new game plan, send in Mennonite again and go back to the old strategy of taking it out with Thunder Punch. I noticed that when Mennonite got hit by a Surf, his HP actually ended up being slightly more than half of his max HP, which made me think that he might actually be able to survive a second Surf and take the Milotic out. Time for a leap of faith. Not everything was meant to be, but thankfully Mennonite did get the Milotic down to low enough health that I was able to send in Pingu to finish the job with Surf. And with the Milotic down, there remains just one more Pokemon, her Roserade. I decided to keep Pingu in as I think it's only fitting that he be the one to end the final battle. Then it turns out he can't survive 2 Energy Balls, so I switch into Falco instead. But then it turns out the Roserade is faster and Falco can't survive 1 Energy Ball, so I send in Gibby as a sacrifice to heal Falco and Pingu back up, and then we're back to using Pingu again. And so, at long last, Pingu is able to use Ice Beam to take down the Roserade and finally defeat Champion Cynthia. So we've come full circle. Just as we began this adventure with Pingu, we ended with Pingu. The battle with Cynthia is iconic for a reason. It really is the ultimate test of all your skills you've developed throughout the adventure, which is what a champion battle should be. It's the hardest battle in the game by far. Having to fight a team that's so diverse and so strong makes for a really tense and engaging final battle. And that level of excitement that comes from those difficult moments is what really makes the Pokemon experience for me. It's in those tough spots that you get your most memorable moments, coming up with some wacky strategy that eventually paid off, or getting some massive break from a stroke of luck, or taking massive gambles that may or may not work out helps to make the gameplay of Pokemon so much more personal and engaging. Everyone has different gameplay styles and uses different Pokemon, which means that everyone can develop their own unique memories of certain moments in the game. And this definitely shines through in the battle with Cynthia. Challenges like this make for the most exciting and memorable experiences, which is a big reason why this fight sticks out so much in the minds of so many fans. The battle with Cynthia is a truly thrilling event in the game, and it makes for a perfect way to cap off the journey. And with that battle all said and done, we have beaten the game. It's a truly triumphant moment to hear that uplifting music and walk alongside Rowan and Cynthia, two incredibly important and enduring figures of the story, and enter your Pokemon into the Hall of Fame. It's such a joy to watch the commemoration of your team, showing where you first met them and seeing them all together with you in that congratulatory final screen. It really reinforces a sense of bonding with your Pokemon, like they're not just members of your party in your RPG game, they're your companions who you went on an adventure with. This sense of bonding is quintessential to the Pokemon experience in my eyes, and I think it's a big factor in what makes the series so unique. And so with that, the credits roll and we can celebrate at long last. After all this time, we have finally finished the adventure through Pokemon Platinum.
Well, yeah, us is leaving. Got games to demo.
Yeah, does everyone have a game? Me too, to get all this in.
Yeah, I always keep one in my coat pocket for situations like this. You bringing that?
Oh, that... No, I'm just bringing one of my copies of Tura. I still have so much left to do in that game.
What? Didn't you beat that game? Like, have it as a kid? Like, if you're doing the post-game stuff, you could just do it on the original cartridge.
No. No, I lost the original cartridge. One day, it's disappeared, and all the memories that it has are gone.
You should have just taken credit card or stuff.
I know.
Sure.
Yeah. Shut up. I was thinking that. God, what I would do to get that cartridge back.
Damn it! This is why I don't complain during the holidays. You get haunted.
It's okay, we know each other.
Michael!
What do you want?
I hear you're in need of a remnant of your past.
Oh yeah.
Well, do I have a difficult and convoluted mission for you?
Yeah, I got time.
I can do that. What's the mission?
I can summon your Pokemon Platinum cartridge, but only if you do a few tasks.
Like Among Us!
No! I need you to find 3 tokens to perform the ritual that will allow me to summon the cartridge.
What are they?
I'm getting to that. There are 3 items with special significance to your life. First is the token of delusion. This can be found somewhere in your childhood home. Second is the token of contentment. This can be found at the Games for the Gameless headquarters. And third, the token of unfunny. This can be found at the old desk. And after gathering these 3 items, you must complete everything on your current playthrough of Pokemon Platinum.
No!
Except the contests. You don't have to do the contests.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Then, and only then, can we finalize the ritual, and your long-lost cartridge will finally be yours again.
Wait, question.
What?
Do ghosts piss?
Sometimes.
But like, you're not even concrete matter. Why would you have to?
Well, have you ever woken up on a very cold morning and you have to piss? You go to the bathroom and the piss is so warm as it leaves your body. It's just everything you want it to be. As it falls into the bowl, you just piss and it's so great. Well, ghosts, we can't do that. Our piss is not warm. Our piss is cold. Our piss is cold, damn it. And I piss and I piss and I try to feel what I used to feel and I can't. I can't feel it anymore. So that's why I piss sometimes, yeah.
I still don't get pissing recreationally.
You don't?
Wait, there's more? Yes, Platinum, like many Pokemon games, has an extensive amount of post-game content to explore after the credits roll. Post-game content is a staple of the series. I mean, it's hardly a Pokemon game if it doesn't have it. We start our post-game quest right back where we started the main adventure, in our bedroom. We head downstairs and oh yeah, I have a mom. She tells me that I need to head to Snow Point City to take a ship somewhere, so I do, and we end up in a fun new place called the Fight Area. As soon as we get off the ship, we meet up with our rival again, who takes us to the entrance of the battle frontier for a double battle with Falconer and Flint. This battle is kinda random, but it's a fun, neat way to start out the post-game at least. After the battle, we meet Palmer, who is the rival's dad and one of the big bosses of the battle frontier. We also talk to this guy named Buck, who I don't know, he's just a guy, but we'll see more of him later. There isn't much going on in the fight area. It mainly just serves as the resting place for the battle frontier. Basically just a gauntlet of battles that take place under certain restrictions where you can try to achieve new records and win prizes. It's a beloved part of Pokemon games for a lot of people. I am not one of them. I just don't like the battle frontier, okay? I'm sorry, it's just battles. It's just endless battles over and over, winning tiny amounts of BP which you can eventually save up over thousands of years to buy a couple items. The problem is that the battles go from piss easy to having enemy Pokemon that actually have optimal stats and movesets that are just too tough for my ragtag in-game team to deal with. And Lord knows I am not spending all that time breeding and training Pokemon with perfect stats for the Aerial Ace TM. That being said, there actually is a bit more depth to this place than I remember. There's 5 different battle facilities: the hall, the castle, the arcade, the factory, and the tower, and each one has a different format that spices up the battling a tiny bit. First up is the battle hall. The goal here is to just go on the longest winning streak possible with just one Pokemon. I went with my trusty Pingu, and you can literally just pick what type you fight against. Look at this, I'm just mashing A through an army of fire-type Pokemon who only go up like 1 or 2 levels each time. Where's the challenge here? Huh. Next is the Battle Castle. This one has its own special point system called Castle Points. You earn Castle Points from each battle, and you get more or less depending on how well you do. You can use them to heal up your Pokemon and buy items, as well as view your opponent's Pokemon between battles. It's kind of a cool concept because it adds some more strategy to the process beyond just what Pokemon and moves you use. In the Battle Arcade, there's a game board that modifies the conditions of each battle, such as putting status effects on you or your opponents, giving items, or affecting the way the battle board selects conditions. Again, just a nice way of adding a bit of variety. The Battle Factory has you using rental Pokemon instead of your own party, and you're told your next opponent's team ahead of time so you can select Pokemon and even trade out Pokemon with a previous opponent based on what your next opponent's team will be. I like it because it places more limitations on you and forces you to adapt to a different playstyle than what you're used to with your main team, which adds more of a challenge. And finally, we have the Battle Tower, which is the most traditional and straightforward of the bunch, just battling to 7 wins to get that sweet, sweet BP. There was also apparently a sort of ranked online mode where you could battle against other trainers over Wi-Fi. I don't think I ever actually did this, but it seems like a pretty cool idea at least. You can also team up with a friend via local wireless or with some of the traveling companions you met throughout the adventure for some double battles. Buck literally had legendaries, but I still had to carry his useless ass because he just spammed Mirror Coat the entire time. This gateway to the north of the fight area is blocked off by these 2 people who won't let you through until you see every Pokemon in the regional Pokedex. For the most part, you're able to see every Pokemon as long as you explore the game thoroughly in the main adventure and battle every trainer, but there can still be a few stragglers out there. I remember when I first played through this game, I got down to just 1 Pokemon left to see, and it turned out it was a Glaceon, which I never saw because I didn't battle this one singular trainer on Route 217. But this time, the Pokemon I'm missing are Uxie, Mesprit, Azelf, and Rotom. The first 3 are legendaries, while Rotom is technically not a legendary, but you can still only find 1 in the entire game. Specifically, you can find it in the Old Chateau, a little location tucked away in Eterna Forest that I weirdly forgot to visit the first time around. The Old Chateau is a weird little place. It's got a whole lot of creepy ambience to it, and occasionally you can even see ghost NPCs hanging out around the place. The main important thing here, though, is finding Rotom, which you can encounter by interacting with this TV at night. Unfortunately, it isn't nighttime right now, so I'll take care of the other missing slots in the Pokedex in the meantime. First on the agenda is a visit to Lake Verity to find Mesprit. Mesprit uniquely is a roaming legendary, so I'm not able to catch it right here and now, but talking to it does get it registered in the Pokedex, which is all I really need right now. Rowan, how did you even get in here? Next up is Lake Valor, where we can catch Azelf, and I've gotta say, this place looks pretty nice when it isn't dried out and blown to smithereens. Azelf is not a roaming legendary, which means I have to fight and capture it right now in order to get it in the Pokedex. Catching legendaries is a delicate art. It's really important to have Pokemon that are able to withstand hits and also inflict some sort of status condition, ideally either sleep or paralysis, and have an adequate supply of Pokeballs in order to make your life as easy as possible. Dusk Balls are the best bet, being 3.5 times more effective than a regular Pokeball if used at night or in caves where a lot of legendaries are found, followed by the Timer Ball, which can be up to 4 times more effective than a regular Pokeball, but only if the battle drags on for long enough, and finally Ultra Balls, which are only 2 times more effective than a regular Pokeball, but that modifier applies in all situations. Also make sure that you mash A when the ball starts shaking, it helps, I swear to Christ. I do definitely miss the olden days where people would spread superstitious stuff like that. You have to wonder where that kind of stuff originated and why so many players bought into it as kids. Also an important part of legendary battles, you have to be able to deal damage without dealing so much damage that you knock the Pokemon out, because although they do respawn, you have to beat the Elite Four and Champion again to make that happen. Really your best bet if you accidentally knock out the Pokemon is to make sure you save the game before starting the battle so that you can just reset and try again. Overall though, catching legendaries can be really enjoyable. It's a style of gameplay that's a lot different from how you play the game 99% of the time, and it's a fun challenge overall to try and catch all the legendaries in the game. Azelf overall wasn't too difficult to catch, just needed to whittle down its HP and paralyze it, and then I was eventually able to catch it in a Dusk Ball. Uxie took significantly longer, though I wouldn't say it was particularly difficult, I just had some worse luck and ended up wasting a fuck ton of balls before eventually catching it in an Ultra Ball.
Hey, there's a cow over there. Nice.
Man, I remember this couch. Yeah, great memories about grilled cheese happened here.
Oh, I love grilled cheese.
Alright guys, we gotta stay focused. You need to figure out what the heck this token is.
Them together.
Woo! Hey, wait, I got an idea. What if grilled cheese is the token?
Yeah, it's gotta be.
Right?
Yeah, we should make some grilled
Oh, we
cheese.
should definitely make some grilled cheese.
No, there's no way that's a token. The ghost said it's something relevant to my life.
And grilled cheese isn't?
No, wait, listen,
things
No, wait, listen, hang on. The grilled cheese has to already be here. I don't just have grilled cheese sitting around on standby.
You don't?
And I don't just have the ingredients sitting around to make one.
You don't?
Okay, listen. I just have some traumatic memories associated with grilled cheese in this place, okay? So I haven't made any recently.
How do you have traumatic memories with grilled cheese? It's literally the anti-trauma.
Okay, well, listen. It was here, in this place, when we tried to make grilled cheese, and we set the entire neighborhood on fire, and then I found out that... Hang on. Guys, I think I found it! I found the token!
He does have grilled cheese. Oh, it's the Mario thing again.
Oh my god, talk about a token of delusion, am I right?
Hey! Woo! Yeah! Woo! Yeah! Fuck you!
Well, since I have to wait for it to become nighttime to catch Rotom anyway, I might as well continue catching some legendaries. Mesprit, the next one up, is a roaming legendary, which is a Pokemon that can be encountered pretty much anywhere in the region, bouncing around to various routes at random. And when you do end up finding them, you only get one turn before they run away, and you have to continue hunting for them unless you have an ability like Arena Trap or a move like Mean Look, which prevents enemy Pokemon from escaping. I don't. But anything you do in that one turn, like damaging them or inflicting a status condition on them, will carry over to the next encounter. So basically, roaming legendaries are just a long, drawn-out, stupid way of just battling a legendary and catching it normally. There is a way to make the process a bit less stupid in Platinum though. See, there's this app on the Poketch. I never talked about the Poketch, did I? The Poketch is essentially a little gimmick feature for the bottom screen. It has a bunch of apps that are designed to help you with various things, both in-game and in real life. Some of them are somewhat helpful, or at least interesting, but a lot of them are just kinda whatever and don't really do much for me. I mean, come on, what kind of idiot would use their video game console to do math? It is a cute little gimmick, it just doesn't really add much to the overall gameplay experience. However, there are two big things that it is genuinely helpful for, those being the dowsing machine, which allows you to scan for hidden items in your vicinity, and this map, which allows you to track roaming legendaries. So yeah, back to hunting for Mesprit, this app on the Poketch will show you the current location of roaming legendaries, but you can't just check a legendary's location on the map, fly there, and then be golden, because roaming legendaries move every time you enter a new location. So if you were to try and fly or walk to where it was, it would be gone as soon as you got there. The strategy that I used was to stand on a border between two separate locations, in this case right here between Route 205 and the Valley of Windworks, and repeatedly walk back and forth between them so that the game detects you entering a new location and moves the roaming legendary. Do it long enough and eventually the roaming legendary will land on the route you're currently in and you can go battle it. Yeah, it's a bit cheap, but it's miles better than doing it the quote-unquote real way. I mean, Christ, I get that having legendary Pokemon roaming around the region might add some more excitement from unexpectedly encountering it and provides more of a challenge with having to chase it down, but the problem is you can't really chase it because of how it automatically changes location whenever you change location. I think it would have been better to make it change locations on a timer so that if you see its location on the map, you can actually go try to find it. Yes, that would detract from the excitement of seeing it randomly, but you could maybe make the chance of actually encountering it in its location lower or something to compensate. Either way, I just think the current way of forcing the player to basically just sit around and wait for the RNG gods to bless them is just a bad way of handling legendaries, because people aren't just randomly hiking around the region doing stuff by this point in the game. They're either exploring one of the few remaining post-game areas, or they have literally nothing left to do and are just trying to catch the legendaries and move on with their life. I mean, hell, even with the cheapo method that I used, it still took a good while for me to actually catch the legendaries, which just really goes to show how damn tedious and annoying roaming legendaries are in this game. Nevertheless, with enough patience, I was eventually able to whittle Mesprit down enough and catch it with a quick ball. Quick balls are 4 times more effective than a regular Pokeball, making them tied with timer balls for the most effective Pokeball in the game aside from the Master Ball. However, unlike the timer ball where you have to wait 30 turns for it to get to its maximum effectiveness, the quick ball has 4 times effectiveness on the first turn of the battle only. They're pretty nice to just throw out right away at random wild Pokemon because you have pretty good odds of succeeding, but with legendaries they're not quite as helpful because legendaries have such a low odds of being caught in the first place that it's pretty necessary to whittle down their health and inflict a status effect on them, which you obviously can't do on the first turn of a battle. The sole exception to this, of course, is the roaming legendaries, because even though their health and statuses carry over from previous encounters, each encounter still counts as a new battle, which means you can get the bonus from the quick ball and the bonus from weakening the legendary Pokemon. This makes for a nice little consolation prize for the pain of dealing with these stupid things. Next on the list is Dialga and Palkia. To make them appear, you first have to talk to Cynthia's grandma in Celestic Town, then you have to go into this cave in Mount Cornet, go up the waterfall, and head into this room to find the Adamant Orb and the Lustrous Orb. From there, continue up to the Spear Pillar and the legendary Pokemon will appear in these 2 portals. Weirdly, you're forced to battle Dialga first unless you for some reason only got the Lustrous Orb, and you have to leave and re-enter the area after battling Dialga to make Palkia appear. These 2 were significantly tougher to catch than Azelf, Uxie, and Mesprit just because of how strong they are, with both of them being at level 70 with powerful attacks while all my Pokemon were in the low to mid 50s. But nevertheless, I was eventually able to catch them without too much trouble overall. Well, this looks like the place.
You guys here for the game demos?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, we're here for the game demos.
All right, well, what do you got for us?
Pretty cool, huh?
What the hell, dude? Why do you keep trying to give us garbage? We're a charity, not a landfill.
What do you mean? It's a legitimate game. What did Turok ever do to you?
It killed my family.
Oh, come on, don't let one bad feature color your view of an entire game. I paid $20 for this thing.
Listen, if you're gonna give us an evil game, it better be worth at least 21.
Oh, yeah? Hang on a second. There. I just listed it on eBay for 22. It's worth 22 now. Take the damn game.
No, you can't do that. That's cheating. If there's one thing we hate more than Turok, it's unethically sourced Turok. So take your damn game and get out of here.
Get a load of this guy. Sorry about that, guys. What do you got for us?
Hey.
Oh, Turok Evolution. Right this way, gentlemen.
So much for the token, huh?
How was I supposed to know they wouldn't like Turok? Whatever. Corey and David got in, which means they can still find it. So we just have to keep moving and find the last token at the old desk. This actually works out better for us. I mean, surely we can get it done faster when we're all split up.
Surely.
And here we are, welcome to the office.
Oh, nice place you got here.
Yeah, wow, yeah, thank you. And the game section's right over there.
Say you wouldn't happen to have a token of contentment lying around, would you?
I don't know.
We got games. Are you talking about games?
Yeah, like I said, we got Pokemon, God of War, FIFA.
FIFA? You said
Yeah,
FIFA?
right over there.
Wait. You have to stay focused.
David, I have to play FIFA, okay? It's the only reason I woke up this morning. And if I don't get to play FIFA, I'm gonna lose it, okay? We got all day to look for this token, so let's just settle down. Play with some dudes kicking some balls, you know what I'm saying?
Alright, one game.
Soon enough, it's nighttime, which means we're finally able to head back into the old chateau and catch a Rotom. It's only level 20 because you're able to battle it as soon as you're able to use Cut, which means I was able to catch it with just a quick ball. And with Rotom captured, we now have every single Pokemon registered in the regional Pokedex, which allows us to finally progress beyond the fight area. First, we just need to visit Professor Rowan, who will acknowledge your great achievement, and then Professor Oak shows up, gives you the national Pokedex, says something about the Pal Park, and then leaves. After doing that, we're finally able to head north from the fight area into Route 225. This marks the first official post-game route, and it's a lot lot of fun, featuring some fresh and unique geography and trainers with strong and interesting Pokemon that you don't get to see in the main campaign. At the end of the route lies the survival area, which is a cool place, but there isn't much to do here at this point in the game, so its main purpose at the moment is for me to heal up my team at the Pokemon Center before proceeding on to Route 226. Route 226 is also pretty fun, featuring a lot of unique Pokemon and geography much like Route 225. It has a mountainous landscape which you need rock climb to be able to navigate. This is one of few areas where I think the use of HMs actually enhances the gameplay, as they were able to incorporate the HM into the level design to make something unique that they couldn't make otherwise. The second part of Route 226 is a water area, which, you know how I feel about those. And there's a guy here that upgrades your Pokedex with the ability to see Pokemon descriptions in other languages. Immediately after this comes Route 227, which I think is probably the most enjoyable of the remaining postgame routes. It has steep mountainous terrain much like Route 226, with volcanic ash raining down from the sky. Early on in the route you come across Crasher Wake and your rival, who mention the Battle Frontier and a certain club in the survival area. We're getting to that, I promise. And you also come across that Buck guy from earlier who tells you that there's something fishy going on at a place called Stark Mountain. This marks the final major event of the postgame, with the completion of the Stark Mountain quest unlocking pretty much everything else that you can do in the game. Right outside Stark Mountain we see two galactic grunts clearly up to no good, as they often are, and man, look at those lava pits, those are sick as hell! When we go inside we come across the two grunts along with Commander Mars, Commander Jupiter, and this guy named Sharon, or however the hell you pronounce it, who is also a commander and had been present earlier in the game but was never super relevant. Mars and Jupiter ask me what the hell happened to Cyrus and then challenge me to consecutive battles with each of them. After the battles they immediately decide to renounce their villainous ways because things just aren't as fun without Cyrus around. This leaves control of Team Galactic in the hands of Sharon, who is apparently just trying to make a quick buck, which is less apocalyptic than Cyrus's goals but is also quite a bit less interesting. He and the two other grunts retreat deeper into the cave and we have to go chase after them. In the face of the insurmountable obstacle of this single rock, I head back to the survival area to swap out Flowey for a Pokemon that can use Rock Smash. I decided to go with Disaster instead of Bananarama this time because hey, he deserves a turn in the spotlight too. Soon enough, we once again meet up with Buck and he ends up becoming our double battle companion for our Team Galactic chasing escapades. This trek through Stark Mountain is a lot of fun. The terrain is maze-like and tricky to navigate, the trainers and even the wild Pokemon make for challenging battles, and I've always found these partner segments to be really interesting and refreshing. We eventually catch up with Sharon and the two grunts in this little room at the end of the cave. Sharon muses of his brilliant plan to use the Magma Stone to awaken the legendary Pokemon Heatran, which he can then use to control the volcano and extort money somehow. But behold, our good friend Looker manages to disguise himself as a rock, take the Magma Stone back, arrest Sharon, and save the day. We head outside and Looker informs us that with the arrest of Sharon, Team Galactic has been defeated for good. Buck returns the Magma Stone to its chamber and tells us to visit his abode in the survival area. Looker and I say our final goodbyes and I head back into Stark Mountain to clear out the remainder of the area that I couldn't explore during the partner mission. It is kinda sad to see Looker go. He was never a super major character, but he was always a welcome presence and provided a bit of comedy relief at times. He also provided a good answer to the age-old question of Pokemon games. Where the hell are the adults? You do have to wonder sometimes why a child is the one in charge of stopping massive criminal syndicates from destroying the world, but with the addition of Looker and the International Police, the child is no longer the one in charge, they just have to do all the heavy lifting. Nevertheless, I liked Looker and he will be dearly missed. I then decide to take up Buck's offer to visit him in the survival area. This building here is known as the Battleground, and it's initially locked when you first visit the survival area, but it becomes accessible after completing the mission with Buck at Stark Mountain. Here you're able to rematch gym leaders as well as battle companion trainers from the double battle missions. You can battle a random selection of up to 4 of them once per day, and they're a pretty decent challenge. I used to do these battles all the time as a kid, and it's fun to be able to see these characters again and face them in much more difficult fights. It's just cool to see the game take the main gimmicks of these trainers, types for gym leaders, and Pokemon strong in a specific stat for the companion trainers and go further with it, giving them much stronger and more well-rounded teams as a fun optional challenge. You can also battle your rival right outside the battleground on weekends, and his team actually scales up in level based on how many times you beat the Pokemon League, getting as high as the 80s. I don't have quite enough time left on this earth to spend it beating the Pokemon League 20 times, but I definitely did when I was a kid, and it's cool that the game included the level scaling to reward players that really squeezed everything they could out of the game. Next on the agenda is Route 228. This place is a desert route, which really helps it stand out as you don't see anything quite like it anywhere else in the game. There's a sandstorm active in battles at all times, damaging any Pokemon that isn't a rock, ground, or steel type each turn, which is a little annoying to deal with, but it doesn't change the gameplay too dramatically overall. We also meet this man here, who is evidently Cyrus's grandpa, which is a neat bit of world building at least. Next up is Route 229. This place is tiny, just a small little strip of land here, but I imagine it had to be its own separate route in order to differentiate it from the desert and not have the sandstorm effect, similar to how Route 217 is separate from 216, presumably because of its blizzard effect. After Route 229, we we reach the resort area. This is the last new town of the post-game, and this guy right here randomly gives you your own personal villa for free. This seems to be basically just a neat little distraction where you can make your own custom dwelling, and I ordered a bed without checking the price and lost half my money, so that's enough of that. This guy here tells of a mysterious hidden ruler that supposedly lurks in the depths of the resort area's pond. This supposed hidden ruler always puzzled me so much as a kid, like what on earth spectacular Pokemon could I find? I vaguely remember hearing rumors of it being the legendary Pokemon Lugia, but as it turns out, the ruler is just a level 100 Magikarp that is possible to find using the Super Rod. It's not really worth my time, but I always love a good playground rumor in Pokemon games, and little random mini quests like these are nice to have. The final attraction of the resort area is the Ribbon Syndicate, an exclusive club only available to players who collect enough ribbons, little accessories that are awarded to your Pokemon for completing certain objectives. You get them from the Battle Frontier, the contests, beating the Pokemon League, and some other miscellaneous things. Basically, the closest thing this game has to achievements. They're entirely superfluous, and I never felt any desire to put in the effort toward getting a lot of them, and as a result, in all of my years of having this game and playing it to death, I still have never ever been inside this place. I guess it just goes to show that there's always more to discover in Pokemon games, and there always will be because I still do not feel like wasting my time on these. Next up is Route 230, which is just a water route that leads you to the other side of the fight area. I got nothing to say about it. And with this post-game area fully explored, it's about time we tackled the rest of the legendaries. Platinum has a ton of legendary Pokemon to capture, all in their own unique locations and requiring different things to get to them, which makes for a really fun and engaging post-game challenge. First on the list is Cresselia. To start this quest, we have to visit Canalave City and find this boy trapped in bed suffering from a nightmare. He needs a special item called the Lunar Wing to be freed from his nightmare, and it can be found somewhere on Full Moon Island, but the kid's dad, the city's boat captain, couldn't find it himself, so we have to do the job for him. So we take the boat to Full Moon Island, enter this little clearing here, and there stands Cresselia, but what? Where'd it go? When Cresselia disappears, it drops the Lunar Wing. The captain couldn't find it. This is literally the only damn place you can go on this island. We then head back to Canalave City and use the Lunar Wing to rescue the boy from his nightmare. All's well that ends well, but we still have to deal with the whole Cresselia thing. Cresselia is another roaming legendary, and I don't really have anything to say about that I haven't already said, but rest assured that although it was a bit of a tedious process, I was able to slowly weaken and capture Cresselia without much issue. But Cresselia is not the last roaming legendary of this game. If you travel to Eterna City, you can find Professor Oak, who he's not here. If you go to the Pal Park, you can find Professor Oak, who tells you a bit about the place and then leaves to go to Eterna City. But before I go, I guess it's a good time to talk about the Pal Park. The Pal Park is the latest in Pokemon transfer gimmick technology, where you can capture Pokemon that you send from the Gen 3 games. You need to have the game in the GBA slot of your system, which makes Nintendo's decision to get rid of the GBA slot after the DS Lite pretty annoying, but I'm playing an emulator, so I kinda can't do it anyway. It is possible, but it's a pretty convoluted process, and besides, I don't even have GBA save data to transfer Pokemon from. But you know, it was kinda neat at the time, and I do recall having a bit of fun with it way back when. Anyway, after you meet him at the Pal Park, you can find Professor Oak in Eterna City, where he releases the birds. Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres are legendaries originating from the Kanto games, but were made obtainable in Platinum, which I think is a really fun addition. A problem that I ran into early on was that Zapdos is actually faster than all my Pokemon except for Gibby, which meant that I couldn't use Flowey to paralyze it with stun spores, it would just flee first. Luckily, I was still able to use Gibby to whittle down its HP, but losing the added bonus of the paralysis effect definitely made things more difficult. I guess I can't say that overall catching the 3 birds was hard, but it was definitely tedious, and I think it really demonstrates the insanity of roaming legendaries as a whole. It took me almost an hour to capture all 3 of them, and that was with me using my stupid easy mode strategy and heavily utilizing the emulator's speed up feature. Next up is Heatran, which can be found in Stark Mountain in the same place where we found Sharon during that earlier mission. Heatran wasn't too big of a, oh come on, a crit? Heatran wasn't too big of a problem for me. It wasn't capable of dishing out much damage, so it just took a couple of attacks and some Dusk Balls to catch it. This marks the final normal legendary encounter in the game. All the ones remaining are event legendaries only obtainable through special limited edition items. See, the Pokemon Company distributed special items over Wi-Fi throughout 2009, which would unlock special events that would allow players to capture legendary Pokemon not otherwise in the game or in any other game in the series. Of course, that was over a decade ago. Jesus Christ, that was over a decade ago? But thankfully, the inevitable march of time is no match for cheat codes. I'm still gonna complain about it though. Event legendaries are just kinda dumb. Like yeah, let's just lock a whole ass Pokemon behind whether you happen to have Wi-Fi and kept up with Pokemon news during this 1 month in 2009. I do kinda get it because it does add an extra layer of novelty and prestige to these so-called mythical Pokemon, but these things are so damn cool, why can't they be more accessible to everyone? And for people who actually wanna catch them all, you know, the slogan of the franchise, well I guess you're shit out of luck, you stupid idiot. It's just dumb to make the ability to obtain certain Pokemon completely out of the player's control. Make them hard and complicated complicated to find? Sure, but don't put them on a real-life time limit. At the very least, though, the events in this game are pretty cool. Yeah, see, these were the days when the events were actually events and not just showing up in the Pokemon Center where a guy says, "Here's your all-powerful destroyer of worlds, you stupid fuck." The first special event item is the Secret Key, which doesn't technically unlock a special legendary, but it does unlock the only way to change Rotom's form in these games. See, nowadays it's pretty standard procedure for these games to have some way to change Rotom's form, but back in the olden days, being able to change his form was something pretty special. After picking up the Secret Key from a Pokemart, you have to head to the Team Galactic building in Eterna City, then interact with this wall on the corner and you'll unlock a secret room. Rotom can change into 5 alternate forms based on various household appliances, and each form will let it learn a certain move of a given type, and interestingly, when it changes from one appliance to another, that special move it learned will automatically change to the respective special move of the new appliance. It can change into a microwave with the move Overheat, a fan with Air Slash, a fridge with Blizzard, a washing machine with Hydro Pump, and a lawnmower with Leaf Storm. In newer games, it also changes type to match its appliance, but in the original game, it stays Electric Ghost for all of them. Rotom is really such a fascinating Pokemon. I think its gimmick has become less spectacular nowadays as it's devolved from its semi-legendary status and its alternate forms have become easier to obtain, but there is definitely something special about how Rotom is in Generation 4. There's just such a fun magic and mystery to Rotom that's really driven home by this special event. And Rowan, how do you get in these places? Next up is Regigigas, and this event is probably the stupidest one in the game. See, you can catch Regigigas in the game normally without a special event in the Snowpoint Temple, but you need to have Regirock, Regice, and Registeel in your party. You can find these guys in the Gen 3 Hoenn games, Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and transfer them over to your Platinum game using the Pal Park. But what if you don't have one of the Hoenn games? Well, Pokemon Platinum solves that problem because the 3 Regis are actually obtainable in-game. You can find Regirock in the Rock Peak Ruins on Route 228, Regice in the Iceberg Ruins in Mount Coronet, and Registeel in the Iron Ruins on Iron Island. There's only one problem with catching the Regis in this game. You actually can't. Okay, so basically, Toys R Us did an event in March of 2009 where they distributed the special Regigigas to Diamond and Pearl. This event ended one day before Platinum's release in North America, but if you were to trade the special Regigigas from Diamond or Pearl to Platinum, then you'd actually be able to catch the other 3 Regis. So basically, in order to catch a Regigigas in this game without the use of other games, you need to already have a Regigigas. Like, why? If you're gonna lock the 3 Regis behind an event, at the very least don't give us a Regigigas for free and completely negate the existence of the in-game one. This event actively discourages putting in time and effort to reap the rewards of a cool legendary Pokemon by just plopping a level 100 in your lap for the sole price of visiting Toys R Us. I think event legendaries are kinda dumb to begin with, but I especially hate the events where you literally just get a Pokemon without doing anything, which have become incredibly common in more recent games, but I especially hate this one because it actively detracts from an experience that was already in the game. This is one of the most nonsensical things I've seen in this game, but with all that said, I'm still gonna catch the in-game Regigigas because I can't just let the bastards win. Catching the 3 Regis for what it is kinda fun, getting to venture into these old caves and step on these fun colored circles. Capturing them was not much of a challenge. They're all level 30, so they didn't pose much of a threat to my team, and honestly, the biggest risk of these battles was accidentally knocking them out. I literally caught Registeel in a quick ball. When visiting the Pokemon Center during my quest to catch the 3 Regis, I found out that my Regigigas previously had something called Pokérus, signified by this little symbol in its summary menu. In the game world, Pokérus is basically a benign virus that can occasionally appear on Pokemon. It can spread to other Pokemon in your party and your PC, though it doesn't appear that any of my team members got it. As far as in-game functionality, it doubles the amount of EVs a Pokemon gains from defeating other Pokemon even after its infection period is over, making it actually quite beneficial. However, after the infection period ends, it can no longer be spread to other Pokemon, and it's incredibly rare to encounter in the game naturally, so it's not as though it's a must-have or anything. But it is a neat little oddity that can be cool to stumble upon randomly given how rare it is. With the 3 Regis captured, all I need to do is add them to my party, and I have to remove the stupid ball capsules for fuck's sake, and gain access to the Snowpoint Temple from Candace's Blessing. Make our way through some sliding ice puzzles down into the basement, and level 1 legendary. Honestly, I just think it's funny to have this big bad legendary Pokemon be so weak and pathetic that I literally can't use any attacks and just have to rely on poison to damage it. It actually took a pretty long time to catch this thing due to lacking the effects of paralysis, and later when I did switch to paralyzing it, lacking the effects of it having low health. If I'd gotten a Pokemon with the move False Swipe, which always leaves the opponent with at least 1 HP, it probably would have been easier, but come on, I don't have that much initiative. Next up is the event for Manaphy. They literally just give it to you. However, this is different from most events where they just give you a legendary for free because it does actually require some effort on your part. See, the Manaphy event in this game is not the typical distribution event. You actually have to have one of the Pokemon Ranger games, a spin-off series released on the DS. In all 3 of them, you're eventually able to unlock a Manaphy egg, which you can then transfer to any of the Generation 4 games, which you can then pick up in a Pokemart to hatch. It even has its own unique sprite to make it stand out from normal Pokemon eggs. I think it is fun to have that sort of interactivity between the main series and the spin-off games, but that said, I still don't really like the idea of locking content in this game behind ownership of another game. Manaphy is a bit of an interesting Pokemon because although it's seemingly a legendary, unlike most legendaries, it's capable of breeding, albeit only with Ditto. And breeding the Manaphy with a Ditto is necessary for obtaining another legendary Pokemon, Phione. However, obtaining and hatching that Phione egg takes a long ass time, and I'm not doing that, so you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Interestingly, despite its similarity with Manaphy and the fact that it's produced by breeding Manaphy, Phione does not actually evolve into Manaphy. The two Pokemon aren't linked by evolution in any way. It makes these Pokemon some fun little oddities, although they lack very much actual relevance in the games. Our next event is the event for Darkrai, and it's definitely one of the strangest events in the game. We first have to receive an item called the Members Card and then check out the Harbor Inn in Canalave City, a building that's ordinarily locked. This weird guy says some cryptic things and then forces you to rest in a bed, which somehow transports you to this place called New Moon Island. It's basically a mirror of Full Moon Island where we found Cresselia, and we find Darkrai right here in this little clearing. Darkrai is interesting because besides the visual parallel of Full Moon and New Moon Islands, it also is seemingly connected to the Cresselia quest despite it being an event Pokemon. When you visit the child who's having a nightmare, he says, "Dark is watching me," evidently a reference to Darkrai given its name and the fact that Darkrai is known to cause terrible nightmares according to in-game lore. The Cresselia and Darkrai events aren't actually connected in-game in any way, but it's a fun little way to tie the game's world together. The event for the legendary Pokemon Shaymin has us receiving an item called Oak's Letter, a letter from Professor Oak simply telling us to go to Route 224. Route 224 will be the final new post-game route that we explore. It's accessible through the eastern end of Victory Road, a segment which is blocked off until after you beat the game. Once we gain access to this part of Victory Road, we come across this person named Marley, who will be our partner for one final companion trainer mission. This part wasn't too tough overall, but it was a little annoying to be down 2 Pokemon, having to have the Manaphy egg in my party as well as Bananarama to use Defog so I can, see. Route 224 itself is a lot of fun. The trainers are strong and well-rounded, and the area itself is quite pleasant. At the end of the route, Marley comes back and we meet up with Oak to inspect the stone tablet. We're supposed to enter in the name of the person that we want to thank most. I put in memes because I'm really funny. After doing this, flowers bloom all over the area, and oh my god, what is that? Shaymin appears and goes back the way it came, and we have to chase it down the Seabreak path, which is really fucking long. Eventually, we reach the Flower Paradise where we can finally initiate the battle, which interestingly uses the regular wild Pokemon battle theme. The Shaymin is only level 30, and I caught it in a quick ball, so that's the end of that. On my way back down the Seabreak path, my Manaphy egg finally hatched, and Oak and Marley have disappeared. After catching Shaymin, you can bring it to this person in Floroma Town to get yourself a Gracidia flower, which when used, transforms Shaymin into its Skyforme. It's a grass flying type and is pretty damn cool looking, but it will revert back to its normal land form if it gets put into PC, it gets frozen, or it becomes nighttime. It's a fun little novelty, and it weaves the game's lore together with the gameplay to give the game just a little bit more depth. And now that Shaymin's out of the way, it's time for our final event Pokemon of the game. Arceus. Arceus is basically the god Pokemon, set in in-game folklore to be the one who created the universe, and has the unique mechanic of changing forms when given plates, little trinkets that can be found throughout the region. These plates all correspond to a certain type, and boost the power of attacks of that type when given to a Pokemon, but when given to Arceus, they change its form and type as well as the type of its signature move, Judgment. It's another fun way to tie lore and gameplay together, and makes Arceus stand out a lot more. To obtain Arceus, we need a special event item called the Azure Flute. We then have to travel all the way to the Spear Pillar where the game will prompt us to use the flute. Upon playing the flute, a special mystical staircase appears which gains us access to the Hall of Origin. Interestingly, although Arceus was distributed during an event, the Azure Flute itself never was, meaning that this event has never actually been legitimately accessible in the game. The only way to access it is through the use of cheat codes. Apparently, despite it being coded into the game, they decided to not actually distribute the Azure Flute because they felt that the event might be too confusing for players. How is it confusing? All you do is walk. It's no more complicated than the other events that were actually distributed. Nevertheless, we're here now, which means it's time for our final legendary battle. Today, we're gonna capture God. What?
There's a cow over there. I can see that.
Christ. Back to where it all began.
Wait, you were conceived here too?
No. It's just weird to be back here, is all.
Oh, yeah, I can't say I missed it. Well, let's get this token and get out of here.
Yeah. Well, what do you think that token could even be? I never did anything unfunny at that desk.
I don't know, is there anything you could have left behind?
My virgin meter is hitting a historic low. The other day, I almost started thinking about premarital hand-holding. Ugh. That's it! Garrett, it's the virgin meter! Hey, fuck you, Ghost, that was funny. At the time.
No, it wasn't.
Well, whatever. I need this Pokemon Platinum cartridge. We're already here. We're getting the meter. I didn't think about that.
Wait, I got it. Alright, that's all I can do.
God. Well, hopefully they made progress on the other token at least.
Santiago.
It's alright.
Well,
Yeah, worth the Turok evolution, I'd say.
I'm sure they got it.
Let's go home. You know, for all my complaining about that event Regigigas, I have realized that it does actually provide one beneficial thing. It comes with 20 ribbons, which means I can finally access the Ribbon Syndicate, bitches! Yeah, let me in, fuckhead. Finally, after all these years, I can see what I've been missing out on. Huh. Yeah, there really isn't much to this place. The only things you can do here are buy ribbons and get a massage for your Pokemon to make it more friendly. It's fine and all, but I guess I really wasn't missing out on much all these years. That being said, it is still kinda cool that even after all this time, there's still stuff in this game that I had never done and now get to experience for the first time. If nothing else I did in this playthrough was really new, at least this was. With that out of the way and all the legendary Pokemon captured, there remains just one more thing to do. Another go-around at the Pokemon League. The Elite Four and Champion all have toughened up teams that you can fight in rematches after beating them the first time, though their teams don't actually change until after you complete the Stark Mountain quest. They provide a really solid challenge, and it's quite a fitting way to finish off the playthrough. Before doing that though, I decided to visit the survival area so I can rematch my rival one more time. It wasn't a super tough fight or anything, but it was fun and a good final send-off for our escapades with this character. Overall, I like the rival in this game. He's not a gigantic asshole, but he's not a complete pushover bitch boy who constantly sings your praises and tells you how awesome you are. He's energetic and confident, but still able to recognize your skills and his shortcomings while still keeping his head up and working to improve himself. It helps to make the relationship between the rival and the main character one where they're actually friends who respect each other while still competing with one another, i.e., rivals, which is a great character dynamic that I really appreciate. And from a personal standpoint, I do respect the character and do find joy and excitement in battling him even without him being a dick, which is, at least seemingly to a lot of people, what typically motivates the player to want to defeat their rival. Basically, he manages to be a rival without being your enemy, so he's able to be both an enjoyable opponent that you're excited to defeat and your friend when it really matters in the story. The rival in Pokemon Platinum is a well-rounded and fun character that I enjoyed seeing throughout the game. And with that, I bring my team through one final grind session and set off to the Pokemon League for one final challenge to end our adventure. In embarking on this grand quest, I sought to pick apart as many elements of Pokemon Platinum as I could to assess whether it holds up against my childhood memories of it. And overall, I would say that it does. Although this playthrough is very different in a lot of ways to how I experienced this game as a kid, it was still a tremendously fun time that I thoroughly enjoyed. But why exactly is that? What does make Pokemon Platinum so great in my eyes? Well, I've got to admit, it's been hard to come up with any sort of satisfying answer. This is in large part because I just find it really hard to explain why things are good in general. When something's bad, there are usually some specific flaws that I can point to and say, this thing sucks because of X, Y, and Z. But when something's good, I don't know, it's just good. I mean, Christ, take a drink every time I've said something is fun or neat or interesting or cool. I won't pay for your funeral, but I will respect your dedication. But throughout this whole playthrough, I have noticed one unifying theme that really encompasses my love for this game. So this is the best conclusion I've got. I like Pokemon Platinum because I like it. I mean, isn't that what really matters at the end of the day? That you had a good or bad time playing a game? I had a ton of fun playing through Pokemon Platinum as a kid, and I had a ton of fun with it this time around. And for that reason, Pokemon Platinum is my favorite game of all time. And of course, I'll always have an emotional attachment to this game because of my childhood experiences with it, but there's nothing wrong with that. Games are meant to be experienced how you want to experience them, and if your experience with a game was great, whether because of the game itself or because of general feelings and memories that you associate with it, then what other reason do you need to love a game? This playthrough was a highly personal experience, both in the stuff that I experienced while playing and in the memories of past experiences that got revived while I was playing, and it all adds up to make my own unique feelings and memories about the game that no one else will have in quite the same way. Nostalgia can blind you to bad things, absolutely, but it can also really add to your enjoyment of good things and make games, or whatever it is you do, a truly special moment in your life that is unique to you and you alone. Pokemon Platinum is special to me, and it always will be. So all in all, does Pokemon Platinum, played today through as critical a lens as I can muster, stack up to my positive feelings about it that come from my childhood memories? Yes, it does. But it's just not the same. Although this journey was intended to be a revisiting of my childhood, and it indeed brought back a lot of old memories from that time, at the end of it all, I'm still the same 20-year-old dude. Still scared of the future, still bitter and resentful over all the life I didn't live and all the things I can no longer do. Still unsure of what exactly to do with myself and how to navigate this strange new world of adulthood. And it's made all the worse by the fact that I don't have that original cartridge anymore. Yeah, you know, my favorite game of all time, I didn't care enough to actually try to keep it safe. To this day, I still don't know where, when, or how I lost that cartridge. I remember having lost it for a while before eventually finding it literally just underneath a shelf, which really shows the amount of care and attention that I gave it at the time. And of course, I have since lost it once again and haven't been able to find it anywhere, so I think this time, it's gone for good. It really sucks because that cartridge held so many childhood experiences on it. Even if I can never play it for the first time again, at least having that cartridge would provide so much insight into my time playing it as a kid, seeing what Pokemon I had and what I did with them and how I generally experienced the game. It would have been an absolute treasure trove of information about my past experiences, a time capsule that would let me reconstruct some of my life history. But now, all I have are memories. Memories of a bygone era that I can never get back.
There's a cow over there.
It's a horse. God. What a disaster. I should have known this was never gonna happen. All I wanted was to get back an old game cartridge. Just to have a little taste of my childhood. Just to have some of those memories back. Is that so wrong? Like, is that so much to ask for? Why can't I ever have nice things? Why can't I just get some of those memories back?
I think you should have just hung on to the game.
I know. I made a mistake. But now I'm trying to fix it. That's what you're supposed to do when you make a mistake. But just my luck, there's just nothing I can do about it.
Now you're getting it.
Go away, I don't have your stupid tokens.
It's not about the tokens, dude.
What do you mean? Wasn't that the whole point of everything that just happened?
No, idiot. That was a teaching moment.
How many more things do I have to learn? Why can't I just have something go right for once?
Look, there is no lost cartridge of Pokemon Platinum that I can summon for you. The past is the past. It's gone. It's over. What's done is done. But the future is still coming, whether we like it or not. You don't get to change how fast time goes by, but you get to choose what you do about it. Your past is important, and it's okay to acknowledge it, but it doesn't do any good to keep dwelling on it. You can't do anything to change it at this point, so trying to somehow revive it or fix it is just going to make you miserable. You need to accept that and learn to embrace all the opportunities that the future holds. There is so much life left to see, and you have so many games that you still haven't played. Like, so many. Like, seriously, stop playing the same old games. You have so many games that you haven't played. And you need to be okay with letting go of the past and making the most of the time that you have right now.
God, I hate when you're right. It's over, isn't it? This is something I've realized while revisiting my childhood. Nothing lasts forever. It's very strange to come back to such an important game in my life and know that I can never experience it in the same way ever again. Sure, I can remember the best I can, and hell, I could pretend to be my younger self and spam Aqua Jet and use only 2 Pokemon again, but I can never truly recreate those original experiences. That's just not how it works. Every single day, hour, minute of your life, you can only experience once. You only get to be young and innocent and experience those wonderful nostalgic moments once. And there's something very poetic about that. It is sad that I can never go back and relive those joyous, memorable moments that I had all those years ago, but that's also kind of what makes them so special. The things that I did or didn't do in the past, whether it was 10 years ago or 10 hours ago, I can't change them. They are a part of my life, and they're what make me, me. Every phase, every event, every milestone in your life will come to an end eventually. Time will always continue to march on no matter what you do. But every moment in time offers unique opportunities that can help make it enjoyable and memorable. So while the past is undoubtedly important, it's also important not to let yourself get so bogged down in bitterness and resentment over the good old days that you miss your chance to make good new days with the life that you have right now. Pokemon Platinum will always be an important part of my life, and I do often wish that I could experience it for the first time again. And more generally, there's a lot of good stuff that's happened in my life that I wish I could go back and experience again, and a lot of bad stuff that I wish I could go back and do differently. But there is literally nothing I can do about it now. The best I can do is learn from my past experiences, good and bad, and use them to make choices now to make my present life better. So what's the ultimate takeaway from this whole adventure? Getting older and experiencing new things is an inevitable part of life. And life is short. We only have so much time to do anything in any phase of our lives. So it's important to not dwell on the past and get caught up in nostalgia or regret, and to instead use those past experiences to build a better future. It is time to move on.
God damn it, what do you want? I told you, we're not taking your trash games.
No. I have something better this time.
Right this way.
You know, I guess I was wrong about you. You are capable of not hoarding.
Well, this year, I guess I just decided it was time to move on.
Well, game section's over there. Feel free to take a look around.
Look who finally decided to join us.
Hey, we haven't been able to find a token yet, but we're working on it.
They have FIFA here. This is great.
Dude.
Hey, don't worry about it. I've realized that there are things more important than clinging to the past.
Oh yeah, the past sucks. Future's where it's at. I mean, my childhood didn't have FIFA 23. Speaking of, I got some matters to attend to.
Yeah, me too.
You know, Garrett, I realized something today. You can never do everything in life exactly perfectly. Well, I can, but I'm built different, so everyone has some sort of regret or something that they wish they would have done differently. But there's nothing you can do to change it at this point. It sucks to move through life and see how many doors have closed to me. But it's also cool to see how many doors have opened. The future is cool, and from now on, I'm gonna embrace it.
Well, I guess you could say this is a nostalgia trip to Pokemon Platinum.
Yeah.